The following podcast contains spoilers for Sophie's Choice. You have been warned!
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of KFR News Radio. This is your host, Glenjamin Button, along with your host, Miguel Magusto.
Hello.
Oh, greetings.
How are you?
Guten Tag.
Guten Abend, as they would say, or Morgen, depending on
Of course.
what time people are listening to this. It has been a day since our Mudbound episode has been released, and we have not been killed by the KKK.
Not yet.
Not yet. So I think we're doing pretty good, man. Pretty
Pat on
good.
the back.
Pat on the back. Because fuck racism and such.
Absolutely.
How you doing?
I'm not bad. My spine hurts a little bit. I've been working hard today, lifting a lot of things up and down and back and forth and to and fro. But other than that, just fresh off the heels of Sophie's Choice. And honestly, I don't know what's in more despair, my spine or my eyeballs.
Well, we'll have to wait and find out.
Hey, we shall.
Before we get into that, have you watched any movies this week?
Would
I have
you
a
believe?
feeling you only watched two, but we'll find out.
Would you believe I only watched two?
I would absolutely believe that.
And most of a series. Yes.
Series aren't impressive to me, okay?
Yeah,
Everyone watches series. Come on. Yeah, what'd you watch?
We had obviously watched Where the Crawdads Sing, and that was a movie, and we watched it, and the review is up on the YouTube, so you already know the deal. And then finally, I am trying not to fall asleep during this. It's not boring. It doesn't have my attention. Finally getting into Stranger Things season 4. And I hear the last episode is basically an hour and a half plus, and I'm not looking forward to that, but I am at the same time.
Yeah.
It's a very good season. It's just, I really liked season 3, and I was cool with how good that was.
Should have ended with 3, honestly. I haven't watched 4, but it should have ended with 3.
It's still going, still good. I think I'm on the last episode now, episode 9. I might finish it tonight. Who knows? I think they're doing a whole nother, like, half a season after this. I'm not sure how it's going. I just know.
I've heard like
it's
20
good.
different things, so.
Yeah, so have I. It's good. Still watching it. Last episode. Stay tuned next week for the final result. And then, of course, I watched Sophie's Choice, which we shall get into very soon.
Yes.
After you tell me what you've been doing, you silly boy.
So I watched 10 movies altogether and also finished The Boys. The amount of boys that there are, all 3 seasons of Boys that are currently out. I really like it. I told you in person that it's getting a little too real for my liking.
It's very real.
And, like, it's great. It's good. But, like, it's a little less fun with how real it is at the moment. But I still enjoy it. I think it's going to be good. I actually, you bring up Stranger Things made me think of something and how it's more of, like, a bunch of mini movies than it is a TV series.
Yeah.
The showrunner for The Boys. For those of you who don't know, the showrunner, while not directing every episode, directs, like, the continuity. He's in charge of, like, everything that happens. So it's essentially the director of a TV show. The directors they get to direct different episodes don't have much creative control. The showrunner's the go-to guy. So it's a little different for movies than that. And he was just talking about how he hates the direction TV is going because it's no longer episodic. It's all, like, and I think he was, like, seriously throwing shade on Stranger Things. He was like, you get, like, 10 hour-and-a-half long movies and they are you know, all their own little movies, and then they call it a TV show instead of being episodic. And, like, I 100% agree with that. The shows that I like are very episodic. I don't like the shows that are, like, long movies, unless they're miniseries, because that is what a miniseries is. It's a 10-hour long movie that's split up.
Yep. Like Chernobyl.
Chernobyl, yeah. But so many like continuing shows are just like, oh, we're gonna have like 55-minute episode, hour and a half episode, 2.5 hour episodes. Like that's not TV. That's a bunch of different movies.
It's just a bunch of movies.
And that's a fine format, but it does bother me, and I kind of like that the showrunner for The Boys doesn't like that, because that means that show will probably never be like that.
Yep.
So that makes me happy.
It's like, but most cases, it justifiably, you're like, okay, like the story needs like a 2-hour thing or something like that. But just like at that point, yeah.
Yeah, what I don't mind is the finale being like an hour and a half to 2 hours. But like every other episode should only be like 30 minutes to an hour. Yeah. And should be consistent, if you ask me. It shouldn't be all over the place like it is nowadays.
Then you have to schedule it. You're like, all right, I got to watch this episode, but I have to clear out a whole fucking like I'm sorry, keep going.
No, it's fine. It was fine in the early days when instead of being like 22 minutes on the dot, which is what it would be for like TV shows with commercials, they would bleed into like 25 hours or whatever. Or instead of being 48 minutes on the dot for an hour-long series with commercials, it would be like 50 minutes, 52 minutes. But now it's just completely all over the place and just, it's crazy. Again, I'm just nitpicking here. I'm sure it's still a good show, but it makes it harder to plan out when you're going to watch it, because I can no longer binge watch TV shows like I used to.
Yeah. It do be harder.
Yeah.
With a small child.
Yes. But other than that, I ranted about that for 4 minutes. I watched 10 movies. I'm going to go through these as fast as I can. The first one I watched is on the 1001 movies list. It's going to be in the August episode. It is called Black God, White Devil. It's a movie from, I believe it's Brazil. And it's essentially just like it's a movie that is about how people like go from cult to cult when they're looking for a religion and everything. It's pretty interesting, but execution left a lot to be desired. I'll talk about that more in my series there. Then for the 1001 movies, I watched Eyes Wide Shut. First time I had ever seen that.
Yes, I had very much watched it recently, and I'm kind of excited to listen to what you're going to say about it.
Well, you're going to have to wait until August. You're going to have to wait until August. But I love Stanley Kubrick, so it's kind of, a little bit of a shocker that I waited that long to watch it. Then for the 1001 movies, I rewatched the Muppet movie, the original Muppet movie from 1979. It's a classic. It's the Muppets. What's not to like? But you can find out more what my thoughts are in August when that episode releases. And then we watched When the Crawdads... I did it again. Where the Crawdads
I've been doing it all week, too.
Where the Crawdads Sing. You can find out what we thought on a review on YouTube. And then while I was watching the Muppet movie, my son, I keep almost saying his name. My kid, he watched the Muppet movie with me, and he really liked it. So then we watched Muppet Treasure Island. Rewatch for me, obviously, a new one for him, and he also really liked that one. He likes Kermit a lot. He likes Kermit and Fozzie.
Kermit's pretty great.
Kermit is pretty great. So that... Yeah, watch that. Then for the 1001 movies, I watched a Wong Kar-wai film. He's a director from Hong Kong. This one's called Happy Together. It is about this gay couple who kind of run out of money while they're on a backpacking trip in Argentina. So they're both stranded there, but then they break up. So they're kind of like trying to get back on their own. It's very interesting. You can find out more. Actually. You can find out more of my thoughts on that in the August episode. Then for 1001 movies, I watched Little Caesar, not the pizza joint. It's a 1931 gangster movie. All I will say, because you can find out what I actually thought about it in the August episode, it is absolutely 100% where the stereotype of, listen here, see? Where that came from. Because at one point, they literally say, listen here, see? And I'm like, I'm so glad that this actually came from something. It's just not people exaggerating it. But it's pretty cool that like we had heard of that voice without having seen this movie.
Yep.
So yeah,
that's how much of an impact it made.
Yeah. So you can find out what my more detailed thoughts on that are in August. Then I watched Sophie's Choice, which we'll get into in a minute. Then I watched Richard Linklater's, one of his earlier films. I don't know if it's first, but it's one of his earliest ones called Slacker. The entire thing is literally just like it's a camera wandering around, I believe, Houston or Austin, wherever he's from in Texas, and following people and listening to their conversations until the camera follows someone else. It's an interesting concept, but literally every single conversation they have is a conversation. If you have ever been to a college party, it's what you hear.
Oh.
You hear people like trying to be intellectual and not really saying anything. It's all just a bunch of word salad. So it's an hour and 40 minutes of word salad, which I did not care for, but I do get why people like it. It is very unique and very, very indie. It's just, I was hoping there would be more. But if you've ever been to college, it's probably going to drive you insane.
Yeah, I bet.
And then I literally just got home from seeing Marcel the Shell with Shoes on, and I'm sorry, I thought you didn't want to see it, so I didn't bother inviting you.
It's all right. I'll talk to you today. Tomorrow, don't bet on it.
But I really enjoyed it. A24 film, of course, about a talking shell named Marcel, played by Jenny Slate, and I forget the director's name, Dean Fleischer, something or other. I can open it up. Give me 1 second.
Open it up.
Dean Fleischer Camp, who actually used to be married to Jenny Slate, and then they got separated. But it's I think they made a film together, so I'm assuming that they're both cool with each other in one way or another. But yeah, it's a very charming movie. I think it gets a little lost at the end. It kind of rushes the end of it, but I like it for the most part. It's a very fun, charming movie that people should check out. But that does it for the movies I saw. I went through that as long as it took me to talk about The Boys and TV shows. So there's that. But let's get into your movie that you chose, Sophie's Choice.
It was a season of delight in a place called Brooklyn. The season of Sophie and Nathan, and a young man called Stingo.
I love that piece.
All summer long they were together, drawing ever closer to the mystery of Sophie. Ever closer to her unthinkable secret. Sophie.
Oh, please don't go! Don't go away from me, please!
When I told you that the only thing I absolutely demand of you, the only single thing, is fidelity?
Sophie's Choice. Sophie is the survivor of Nazi concentration camps who has found a reason to live with Nathan, a sparkling, if unsteady American Jew obsessed with the Holocaust. It is directed by Alan J. Pakula, written by William Styron, in the screenplay by also Alan J. Pakula. It stars Meryl Streep, Kevin Kline, and Peter MacNicol.
MacNicol, yeah.
That's what I said. You guys never listen. That's really, those three are the really biggest ones in there. Everybody else kind of just background people. But,
yeah, for the most part.
But yeah, I had picked this because I didn't do my research just now. There was a YouTube channel that deals with movies, and they usually do like top 5, top 10s or whatever's. Cinefix. Of just general movies and categories and stuff like that. And usually this was a very consistent movie on most of their categories. And I decided you hadn't seen it. I hadn't seen it. Let's see it. So here we are.
Yes.
Yeah, so... Dear Lord, I know it was fucking sad. I'll say that. I knew about The Choice, but that was really the only thing I had known, other than it being a younger Meryl Streep.
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah, for sure. I had unfortunately been aware of what The Choice actually was before watching it. I feel like it would have had more impact if I had not known that. But regardless, for those, I mean, we had spoiler warning at the beginning. The choice is, while in the concentration camp, a Nazi officer makes her choose between having one child live and one child die. She has 2 children, and she is, she doesn't want to make the choice, obviously. And then they kind of force her hand by saying, we'll kill them both. And she kind of just blurts one of them out. And that part... My God, the actress that got to play her daughter in that, was too good. I couldn't handle how good she was. Like it broke my heart, even knowing that it's Meryl Streep, and I mean it also, doesn't hurt that that situation probably did happen in concentration camps
Many of times.
Many times. It's unfortunately probably not a unique thing, and it was just heartbreaking. And the actress they got for that little girl, like they could have easily just gotten like a, I'm worried. Like, did they tell the little girl what was happening, or did they just like hurt her feelings, or what
They were
happened?
probably like, "We're taking that fucking toy away," and she's like, "No." I don't know.
Oh my god!
But she, it wreaked havoc upon my heart.
Like my obviously I've never been in that situation. God willing, I will never be in that situation. But like my instincts, probably not the best thing to do because it'd probably get all three of us killed. But I would like just being a witness to that, I would have like attacked that Nazi. Like, I don't know. It's hard. It's easy to say that when you're not in the situation. I have no idea how I would act in that situation, but it's just, I don't know. It makes me angry now being a dad, seeing people like not fight for their kids, even though it was probably the smarter thing to do. I just feel like I'm not trying to talk a big game either. It's just how I feel. I feel like I would probably be dead in that situation because I would attack a Nazi.
Oh, I'd probably be dead too. I ain't no lie about that. But again, I'm not gonna hype myself up about it.
Yeah, I'm not hyping myself up either. But it made me that angry. Where it's just like, just fucking deck him. Like you get one good hit, he's not gonna die. You might die, but like at least your kid would know you fought for them. Like even if it's their last seconds and they're about to die too, they would know that you fought for them, and that to me is more important than a long and painful death. Anyway, good movie. Good movie.
I felt that. Yeah. So the rest of the movie is what we have to talk about.
Yeah.
I'll go on record saying this, that I think I hyped myself too much on this movie, knowing that I watched all these other videos saying that it was kind of like a masterpiece in a way. And then that part was, and most of the parts was just Meryl Streep, period, and even Kevin Kline. But there's a lot of movie where I just was kind of lackluster to me, and a lot because it's a 2.5 hour long movie, and a lot of it deals with Meryl Streep and Kevin Kline's characters, and then Peter McNichol, kind of in their space and just hanging out with them and learning about them.
Awkward third wheel.
Yeah, and I think his character took me out of a lot of it, because you're the third wheel. You're the outside looking in to this relationship and who they both are as people, and it's just this thick Southern accent on top of it, which also took me out of it. I don't even know if he has a Southern accent or not. If it was a choice, it was a choice, but
he has a slight one, and then whenever Kevin Kline is making fun of him, it's much like he puts on a much thicker one. By the way, Kevin Kline plays a great asshole. He
is such a good asshole.
I feel like he's an underrated actor. And I really like everything I've seen him in, and he just plays such a good asshole. And like in a way where you still kind of like him, even though he's being a complete asshole, which is important. If you're playing like a protagonist who's an asshole, you have to be likable, and he does that very well.
My favorite of his roles are still Road to El Dorado. Man, that voice, I can't. That voice and him and Kenneth Branagh, they both ring true to my ears every time I hear them.
Yes.
But yeah, as far as like the movie went, I don't know. It just took me out of it for most of that. But learning about Meryl Streep's character and what I'm air quoting, you can't see it, air quotes, what she had been through the first time, and then actually learning what she had been through was kind of riveting. It was like she was telling this story to kind of ease herself and, not tell other people and bring up those dreadful memories.
Yeah,
and then
she's telling half-truths.
Yeah, and then she eventually opens up about the actual circumstances of what happened.
Yeah.
And it was just so good, man.
Yeah. While I do like that part, I agree that Peter McNichol's part is kind of weird, especially his horniness. Like he's a little too creepy for me.
It's that, and it doesn't feel deserved in any way. It
Yeah.
feels like he's just kind of trying too hard. It doesn't feel like he's there for her. He's just got this lust over her. It doesn't feel like love. It feels like lust.
Yeah, to the point where like after she tells him this heartbreaking story about what happened to her children and the horrible things she had to go. They have sex afterwards. Like that just like how could you even think about sex after hearing that horrible story? And I know
he does a little monologue after, but like it still didn't feel right in it.
I know he's like, oh, I don't know if she was numbing the pain or whatever, but like, how could you want that after? Like, how could either of you? It makes sense for her because she's trying to numb the pain, but like, why would you let that happen? Like, it's creepy, it's gross, it's
all because he was an 18-year-old younger Steve Carell, a little 22-year-old virgin.
22-year-old virgin, yeah, and like sex is great, but like. After I heard that story, I'd be like, "Yeah, I'm good. I don't need nothing at the moment. Thanks for asking."
Can we just cuddle?
Cuddling would make sense after that. That is a very comforting thing. But I really was fascinated by Meryl Streep and Kevin Kline's relationship in this, where that was like the best part, in my opinion. I know like the whole point is her Holocaust story, and that was definitely a huge factor in it, but compared to when they were just like having their on again off again relationship and her kind of always bringing him back even though he probably didn't deserve it, that was interesting to me. And I'm not trying to say like I don't think that it is bad enough where it advocates for sticking with an emotionally or mentally abusive person. But like she seemed to know something that the audience didn't until much later. So it was very believable that like she knew that, because you find out later he's a paranoid schizophrenic, which my grandfather was a paranoid schizophrenic. So like, and my grandmother obviously stayed with him for their entire lives. And so the fact that like she was able to know that without having any reason to know, and just kind of keep forgiving him and know that like she was kind of there to take care of him and vice versa in a way, help them forget their issues. I thought that was a very beautiful thing. Obviously not when he became belligerent and abusive. Yeah. It wasn't funny. It wasn't like charming then, but like the way they met was incredibly sweet. The way they were when they're at their best was so believable and warm and I hate romance in movies, but it was very romantic. I found that very interesting. And then you're absolutely right. Peter McNichol's character kind of took away from that and added a creepiness to it.
It would be one thing if he wasn't exactly the third wheel that was always with them, and he wasn't kind of our main character. It'd be fine if it was Meryl Streep's point of view and he was kind of there often. But he's our looking glass through this whole story, and it doesn't feel right. You don't feel connected to him other than him being your inner monologue throughout this whole thing.
And you find out why at the end, because they commit suicide. Although I don't know, do they clarify if Sophie was a suicide or if like Nathan forced her?
They both took it.
They both took the cyanide?
Yeah, willingly.
I was pretty sure that's what happened, but wasn't sure if I missed something. But that was a thing that was like, it was very big in books to have like a third person narration to tell someone else's story. Like you kind of get that with Shawshank Redemption. With you follow the Red is the narrator. It's not I forget Tim Robinson's character, but Red's the narrator. That was a big thing for books back then, where it's just like they would not break from the narration to in order to tell the story, and it would have been better if they broke like from Mudbound last week where they had multiple narrators. It would have been better that way if you followed them, and Peter McNichol as Stingo came in every now and then and wasn't quite as creepy and not so horned up. My God, man, spray some cold water in his face or something.
Yeah. Yeah, this one was a little tough on me. I expected too much from it, but I still loved it genuinely. Like, the story there is fantastic, but like I was just expecting a little bit different and not what exactly we got. I don't know if it was 2.5 hours, not from his point of view, I would have been fine with it, but it was, so it felt like it could have been dumbed down a little bit to like 2.
Yeah, I'd agree.
And I just want to get this off my chest now.
Okay, let it out.
The little secretary guy in the flashback when Meryl Streep's trying to figure out Emil Dickens.
I was about to say the same thing.
That guy's a fucking dick.
First of all, how are you a librarian and not hear Emil Dickens and think Emily Dickinson?
Yeah.
I am not. I barely passed my senior year of English.
Like,
and
do you sit there and go, you mean Emily Dickens? Or what?
Dickinson. Emily
Dickinson?
But
how do you not just sit there and go, like, oh, do you mean this? Like, clearly she's struggling with the language, and you're just like...
There's a big old bug flying in front of me.
Not the bug! Swat that with an Emil Dickinson.
I don't know what it is.
Fucking
it's
book.
A bug I've never seen before.
Oh, Christ. The mutations have begun.
Oh.
Are you alive?
I've trapped it under a Phillies helmet. Let's see if it gets out, because there's a little gap at the bottom. But it's a chonky boy.
It'll grow in 6 years.
Anyway. But yeah, like, he's a librarian. How do you not hear Emil Dickens? Mm-hmm. And you're just like, oh, there is no Emil Dickens. There's a Charles Dickens.
Yeah.
And you don't go, Emily Dickinson?
Yeah.
American poet? You're looking for American poet? Emily Dickinson. There we go.
It led up to, her having anxiety and passing out, and then Kevin Kline's character coming in and then, sweeping her off her feet.
Guy didn't even apologize.
Didn't apologize at all.
He's didn't apologize.
Didn't even help her out. Just washed her face. Like, this fucking bitch is on my floor now.
What a bastard.
What a piece of shit.
Not cool,
All he was missing was being horny. Then he was just a real piece of shit the whole time. But... yeah, that was fucking annoying for me. I'm like, are you kidding me right now? Yeah. I'd be Karening the fuck out.
Yeah. The entire time, I was just like, it was like that one TikTok where it's like, where's the cheese? Under the sauce.
Under the sauce.
Like, and when she was like, Emil Dickens, and he's like, there is no Emil Dickens. I'm like, Emily Dickinson. There's Charles Dickinson.
Sauce.
She means Emily Dickinson. She means Emily Dickinson. Just built up.
I was furious.
Yeah, same here.
But going back to the kind of the big thing about this movie is when she has to choose between, I already knew about it when she has to choose between her children and she picks one of them.
I wish I didn't know
that would have been huge to not know. Mm-hmm. But of course, because I knew that, it didn't get me. But going back to the kid screaming, that's what was like, oh, I didn't cry because in the situation, I'm like, I already know this makes me sad. But like, it's still like hit hard. Mm-hmm. And that's the part that really makes this whole thing is just that whole mini story that she tells.
Same here.
And then it goes back to just fucking guy being guy,
What's better than this? Just guys being dudes.
Just guys being dudes.
No, he was definitely the worst part. Like, that was Hollywood does that from time to time where, like, we need to have sex in this. Like, no, you don't. Not everything needs to have sex in it. Like,
especially that whole scene where that chick is raving about fucking.
And then once
it happens, it's like, this is why men get confused, okay?
Yeah, but
not advocating this, by the way. I'm just...
if you've seen the movie, you know for a fact that she absolutely led him on.
Big time.
There was... Even like the most feminist of women would be like, because he didn't try any further once he knew there was a problem, it's fine. Mm-hmm. But she definitely was just like,
She's like,
talked about
yeah,
fucking
let's do
him.
it. Yeah, let's
Yeah.
do it. Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, let's do it. And then time came.
I
It's
can
like,
talk about it, but I can't do it.
all right, lady, get out of my face, please. That was a weird scene too.
It was
but,
very
you know,
completely unnecessary. Mm-hmm. Just padding the runtime. Hold on, let me see who produced this. I need to know who produced this.
produce it up.
Okay, it's not who I mean, I knew it probably wasn't him, but like Harvey Weinstein would put that shit in movies just to be a pervert,
Yeah.
a predatory pervert like he is. But yeah, he did not produce this. So, yeah, someone else was a predatory pervert apparently.
Yeah, look at that.
But
In Hollywood, e-gasp.
this movie made me realize there is no greater evil in this world than ending a movie on a freeze frame. I've never liked it. I will never like it. Freeze frames are the devil unless they're played for laughs. But like when you have a serious freeze frame, like in this, or
Especially the freeze frame that this one was, too.
yeah,
Homie walked out of frame on a bridge and then Meryl Streep's face.
yeah, it was so stupid, and I hate freeze frames. They should never have existed ever. So anyway, that's all I got to
Hallelujah.
say.
Yeah, I think I've reached the end of my bucket. You know,
Yes.
I don't have any more little pieces of paper to list examples of things.
Yes. So that does it for our review for Sophie's Choice. That brings us to the Judgment Glenjamin button. As always, I almost forgot this part. As always, it needs to be unanimous decision whether or not it goes on the KFR shelf with the likes of Apostle and Handmaiden. Glenjamin button. You picked Sophie's Choice.
I
so what
did.
is your Sophie's Choice for if it's a shelf boy?
The choice that I'm picking is, yes. I genuinely liked this movie. I think my high expectations kind of ruined the movie for me. And you know, many of the other examples that we had talked about. And if it was just the story that Meryl Streep was talking about, and you know, just what her and Kevin Kline have been through, I would absolutely put this on the shelf. But there's so many other parts of it that just don't want me to put it on. It kind of took my attention away most of the time. So I'm like, dreading, kind of, not dreading watching it, but like, kind of like, oh man, I wish I was back to that story we were just talking about. You know, would have been cool. Yeah, I think sadly, I don't think I'm going to put it on the shelf.
Oh, okay.
But what do you think?
I think this is one of the rare times we disagree.
I know. I saw your rating and I was like, gasp again.
Yeah, I was not as distracted by the jumps in story. But even though I didn't care for his character, which, at least the creepiness, I felt that Peter McNichol did a pretty decent job. The acting by all three is pretty phenomenal. I think the writing's very good. It's got very memorable moments. And while I do think there's some, you know, jumps and stories that don't go over quite as smoothly, and I could have definitely cut out at least half an hour, I still really enjoyed it. So I would say it does go on the shelf, but that doesn't matter because you said no.
I'm a piece of shit.
No, you're not.
I would still give this like a solid 3.5.
Yeah,
But I don't know. I didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I would, sadly.
that's fine. So Sophie's Choice does not make it on the KFR shelf with the likes of Apostle and Handmaid, and that's going to shock a few people, honestly.
That is going to shock a few people.
But that brings us to our assignment for next week. It is Streaming Roulette Week. For those of you who don't know what that is, we spin a very real giant wheel with all of the movies that are on all the streaming services we subscribe to, and we spin it 3 times. It's a very real wheel. It makes very real noises.
Yeah, listen now.
We didn't spin it yet, but that was a clip from last time.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we spin that 3 times, and then we pick the movie that is most interesting to us. When we pick one. We pick one out of the 3. That's what it is. I don't know why I'm still talking this up. Anyway, without any further ado, here comes the first spin. Don't go breaking my heart. It's that's what it's called, from 2011.
Is this a Elton John movie?
No. It is. Let's see. I want to say it's Korean, but I have not gotten confirmation yet. Hong Kong. It's from Hong Kong and or China. Don't Go Breaking My Heart. An original twist on an eternal triangle where secret crush and unrequited, one of those pronunciations, unrequited love, take on altogether newfangled meanings of their own.
Another love triangle.
I love that they use the word newfangled, though. So
Yeah.
already points in my book. This is going to be available on Netflix. It is directed by Johnny To, written by Javon Ao, Riker Chan, and Y Ka Fei. As always, if I mispronounce these, I apologize. It is starring Louis Koo, Yuan Gao, Daniel Wu, and Hin Y Ao. And that is on Netflix. It is 6.5 out of 10. Looks like a rom-com, maybe?
I think so.
Yeah. So Don't Go Breaking My Heart. That is the first movie. Here comes spin number 2. The Harder They Fall from 1956.
Humphrey Bogart.
I love Humphrey Bogart.
All of the ones that I'm seeing are all Rent.
What the hell? Oh, Criterion Channel.
Oh, okay. There we go.
Yep. Harder They Fall.
Can I add services in there?
Let me just. Yeah. Okay. It looks like it should be. I'm gonna check on my phone real quick. I'm sorry that you're gonna have all this dead air to cut, but
it's okay.
Yes. So The Harder They Fall is on Criterion Channel. 1956. An ex-sports writer is hired by a shady fight promoter to promote his latest find, an unknown but easily exploitable rising star from Argentina. Is directed by Mark Robson, written by Philip Jordan, and based on the novel by Bud Schulberg. Starring Humphrey Bogart, Rod Steiger, Jan Sterling, and Mike Lane. I've seen Rod Steiger in a lot this year. And that is going to be on Criterion Channel, 7.5 out of 10 on IMDb. Not bad.
There we go.
So here comes spin number 3. Equinox Flower, 1958.
Getting some old films again. This is on HBO.
HBO Max. It is Japanese, it looks like. A businessman clashes with his elder daughter over her choice of husband. Directed, as always, please forgive my pronunciation. Directed by Yasujiro Ozu. Written by Tone Satomi. Yasujiro Ozu. I pronounced that worse than I did the first time. And Kogo Noda. It is starring Shin Saburi, Kinuyo Tanaka, Iniko Arima, and Yoshiko Kuga. That is on HBO Max. And that is our third spin. I am leaning The Harder They Fall, personally.
I am also. Equinox Flower also doesn't seem too bad. It'd be kind of nice to see a Japanese film that's not samurai related for me, at least. So this might be added to the list if we don't pick it.
Yeah, I think
it's also a comedy drama from the 50s Japanese too.
Yeah.
So that'd be a little different.
It would be. I think I'm still leaning The Harder They Fall. I do want to watch
fine.
Equinox Flower.
Yeah, I'm adding it to the list right now, actually.
Me too. Let me do that. Boop, 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 boop.
Equinox Flower is added to the watch list. Anyway,
our assignment for next week is The Harder They Fall. That is our choice. That is what we've decided to pick. That, again, is available on Criterion Channel. I love Humphrey Bogart. I've been loving Rod Steiger lately, so I'm excited for this.
Eddie, you're a big talent. You're a real, real big talent. I used to read your column every day in the newspaper, and then when the newspaper folded, I missed it.
Yeah, well, let's skip the build-up. Get down to the main event.
All right, Eddie. I got a position I want you to fill. Now, it's not the usual press agent's routine. It's an important job that calls for an important man that pays important money, and I think you're important. Interested?
Well, I didn't come here to work out.
All righty. Now, look, the fight... George! What's he doing?
Getting ready, Mr. Benko.
Well, tell him to hurry it up.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Eddie, the fight game in this country is falling apart. The boys are all getting too smart. They all want to go to college. They want to become doctors. They want to become lawyers. They don't want to fight for a living. So I sent a couple of the boys abroad to find me some new material. I think they came up with a winner. He just got off the boat this morning. The guy's name is Toro Marino.
Toro Marino, I never heard of him.
Well, I told you he's new, didn't I?
But thank you, everyone, for listening. As always, you can check out our website at www.keystonefilmreview.com. On Instagram, we are Keystone_film_review. Twitter, Keystone_film. Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok, Keystone Film Review. And on Letterboxd, I'm Mike KFR.
And I'm Glenn KFR.
And that will do it until next week when we knock each other out.
Yeah, straight. Deck each other's faces.
And then we probably are going to open up our spoiler announcement with, listen here, see?
Yeah, goddamn it. What else could we do?
That's our go-to for any Humphrey Bogart movie, apparently.
It's perfect.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye.